This coin almost ended up in the trash, but it stunned the entire coin world when it sold for nearly $1 million. Yes, you heard that right. A simple 1988 quarter, the kind you've probably handed to a cashier without a second thought, can be worth up to $1.1 million. And tonight, I'm going to tell you why this unassuming little piece of change became one of the most shocking discoveries in modern coin collecting history. It all begins in Philadelphia, 1988. Millions of quarters rolled off the minting presses, each one bearing the familiar face of George Washington. They were meant to be ordinary, everyday coins. But buried within those millions were a handful of quarters that carried a secret, an error so small, so subtle, that almost no one noticed. That very mistake is the reason collectors today are willing to pay life-changing amounts of money for it. Now think about this. Imagine you're emptying your pocket change into a jar. You toss in a handful of quarters, some from 1987, some from 1989. And without realizing it, one of them is a 1988 P Mint Mark Washington quarter with a flaw so rare that only trained eyes would spot it. A coin that could turn your jar of loose change into a fortune overnight. But what exactly went wrong at the Philadelphia Mint? Why did some of these coins become million-dollar miracles, while others remained worthless pocket change? Here's where it gets fascinating. In 1988, the Mint used coin dies that were not properly aligned. Some planchets, the blank discs that become coins, were struck off-center, creating a lopsided image of Washington's face. Others showed what collectors call a transition error, where elements of the design from a different year were mistakenly pressed onto the coin. And a few even revealed doubling letters and numbers that appear to have shadows, because the die struck the coin more than once. One collector, just an ordinary man who had been holding onto jars of coins for years, discovered a 1988 P quarter with such a dramatic doubling on the word liberty that it sent shockwaves through the numismatic community. At first, dealers scoffed. "It's just another quarter," they said. But when the coin was authenticated, the truth came out. This wasn't just another quarter. This was history frozen in metal, a mistake so rare it could be valued at over $1 million. Collectors were stunned. Dealers began rushing to their vaults, to their stockpiles, even to their old jars of change, desperate to see if they too had overlooked a fortune. But here's the part that will send chills down your spine: most people who own this coin have no idea. They've spent it at gas stations, vending machines, grocery stores, unknowingly handing away a life-changing treasure for just 25 cents, and that's why this story matters. Because right now, at this very moment, one of these coins could be sitting in your pocket, in your drawer, or hiding inside a dusty coin jar in your attic. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. When that first rare 1988 P quarter hit the auction block, bidding started small. A few $100s. Then it soared thousands, then tens of thousands. The room grew tense, the auctioneer's voice rattling faster and faster as collectors locked into battle. When the hammer finally fell, the crowd erupted in disbelief. The coin sold for nearly $1.1 million, and suddenly, everyone wanted in on the chase. News spread like wildfire. The story appeared in coin magazines, on forums, and at collector conventions. People began examining every single 1988 quarter they could find, hoping for the same miracle. And slowly, a handful of others began to surface, each one rarer, each one more valuable than the last. But here's the detail most people miss. Not every 1988 P quarter is worth a fortune. In fact, 99.9% of them are just regular change. The value lies in the mistakes. The off-center strikes. The doubled letters. The mysterious transition errors where one year's design bleeds into another, and these tiny details can mean the difference between a coin worth 25 cents and a coin worth over $1 million. One woman, for example, found her 1988 P quarter in a box of belongings she inherited from her father. At first, she thought it was nothing special. But under the magnifying glass, she saw it, the doubling on the date. She submitted it to a grading service, and weeks later, the verdict arrived. She had been holding one of the rarest errors in modern U.S. coinage. Her ordinary inheritance had just transformed into $1 million miracle. But wait. Because the story gets even more unbelievable, some experts believe that there are still dozens, maybe even hundreds, of these coins hiding out there, undiscovered. Why? Because in 1988, the Mint didn't destroy error coins the way they do today. Many of them slipped into circulation, where they've been passed from hand to hand for decades. They're sitting in laundromats, car cup holders, cash registers, waiting for the right set of eyes to recognize them. Think about that for a moment. How many quarters have you spent without ever glancing twice? How many times have you tossed one aside, never knowing that you could have been holding $1 million treasure in your fingertips? This is why coin collecting isn't just a hobby. It's a hunt. A hunt for mistakes, for miracles, for the little flaws that turn ordinary coins into priceless treasures. Here's the key. First, look for the P mint mark under "In God We Trust." This confirms it was struck in Philadelphia. Next, examine the date 1988. Then, under magnification, look closely at the word Liberty and the date itself. Do you see doubling? A ghostly shadow behind the letters or numbers? That could be your jackpot. Is the rim uneven, or do parts of the design look cut off? That's an off-center error, and depending on how dramatic it is, it could skyrocket the value. And finally, watch for signs of a transition error where details from a 1989 die may have bled onto the 1988 quarter. These are the true unicorns of the coin world, and they are the ones collectors will pay millions for. And now, here's the part most people get wrong. Cleaning your coin will destroy its value. Even if you find a flawless 1988 P error quarter, if you polish it, you could reduce its value from $1 million to just a few hundred. The best thing you can do is keep it safe, handle it carefully, and have it professionally graded. So tonight, when you go through your change, don't ignore the quarters. Don't assume they're worthless. Because inside those dull stacks of metal could be a treasure so rare, so valuable, that it changes your life forever. Remember this: the difference between ordinary and extraordinary is often just one small detail. One tiny error. One overlooked flaw. This exact quarter, the 1988 P mint mark Washington quarter, could be sitting in your drawer right now. And if it carries the right mistake, it isn't worth 25 cents. It isn't even worth hundreds or thousands. It's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in someone's pocket change forever, but instead, it sold for nearly $1 million. Yes, you heard that right. A 2008 Arizona quarter, a coin that most people overlook, spend without thought, or toss into a jar, has been found to be worth up to $1.2 million. And the reason why will leave you stunned. Back in 2008, the U.S. Mint released the Arizona quarter as part of the state quarters program, honoring each state with its own design. For Arizona, the coin featured a striking depiction of the Grand Canyon, with the state's name carved proudly above. Millions of these quarters were minted in Philadelphia, carrying the tiny P mint mark. To the average person, these coins were just another piece of change, nothing more. But hidden among the countless ordinary strikes, a few mysterious errors slipped through, and those errors are what transformed pocket change into a once-in-a-lifetime treasure. Collectors began whispering about it. At first, it sounded like nothing more than rumors, stories of quarters with strange markings, designs that looked off, and coins with details that didn't quite match. But then, the truth came out. One Arizona quarter, struck in Philadelphia, displayed a shocking minting mistake. Instead of a crisp, flawless Grand Canyon design, this coin carried what collectors call the extra cactus leaf error. An additional line, pressed right across the design, made it appear as if a cactus leaf was covering part of the word Arizona. To the untrained eye, it might look like a scratch, a smudge, or simple wear. But to coin experts, it was undeniable proof of a rare minting blunder. And this error changed everything, because the moment collectors realized just how few of these flawed Arizona quarters existed, the bidding wars began. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. One of these Arizona quarters, with the hidden cactus leaf error, surfaced at auction. At first, nobody believed it could fetch much. Maybe a few $100, maybe $1,000 at most. But as the bids climbed higher and higher, something incredible unfolded. Collectors were shocked. Dealers were rushing to get their hands on this coin. A humble 25-cent piece soared past expectations, reaching into the hundreds of thousands. And when the hammer finally dropped, the sale price left everyone speechless, nearly $1 million, and it didn't stop there. Another Arizona quarter with the same mysterious flaw surfaced, and suddenly, a hunt was on. Collectors across America tore through their change jars, scoured coin rolls from banks, and checked every quarter they could get their hands on. Because the discovery wasn't just luck, it was a reminder that treasures still hide in plain sight. Imagine it. One man pulls a quarter from his pocket, barely noticing it. He sets it aside. Days later, he hears the story of the Arizona error coin and decides to take another look. And in that moment, his entire life changes. That same quarter, dismissed as pocket change, is suddenly worth a fortune, possibly up to $1.20 million. But here's the shocking part. Most people who see these coins don't even realize what they're holding. The difference between a worthless quarter and $1 million miracle comes down to one tiny detail: a line, a mark, a flaw that the average person would mistake for damage. And that's why so many of these coins have slipped through unnoticed, because in the world of coin collecting, rarity is everything. And when a government mint makes an error, even by accident, it creates a coin that isn't supposed to exist. A coin that breaks the rules. A coin that becomes an instant legend. And with the Arizona quarter, the legend keeps growing. Collectors who find these coins describe the moment as surreal. One man said he felt his heart stop when he realized the cactus leaf covered part of the word Arizona. Another collector admitted he checked his coin at least 20 times before he believed what he was seeing. The disbelief. The adrenaline. The rush of holding $1 million treasure in your hand. But here's the part that will keep you awake at night: there could still be more of these error quarters out there. Yes, the auctions have proven their worth. Yes, dealers have confirmed their rarity. But the truth is, many of these coins are still hiding in circulation. Sitting quietly in bank vaults, coin jars, or tucked away in drawers across America, and one of them could be in your possession right now. Think about that. A single quarter that you spend on a gumball or drop into a vending machine could have been your ticket to $1 million. Collectors know this, which is why they search tirelessly, examining every detail under magnifying glasses, looking for that one hidden cactus leaf error. And when they find it, the payoff is life-changing. But what makes the Arizona quarter so dangerous is how easy it is to miss. From arm's length, the coin looks perfectly normal. The Grand Canyon spreads across the design, the cactus stands tall, and the word Arizona seems intact. But upon closer inspection, that extra cactus leaf reaches across like a shadow, covering part of the word and marking the coin is one of the rarest errors of the modern era, and that tiny flaw is the difference between 25 cents and $1.20 million. First, look for the P Mint mark, right on the coin's front. This tells you it came from the Philadelphia Mint. Then, flip the coin over and examine the design closely. Focus on the cactus leaves and the word Arizona. If you see what looks like an extra leaf partially covering the text, you may be holding one of the rarest quarters ever struck. But be careful. Many people mistake scratches or damage for the error. A true error coin will show the extra cactus leaf as part of the original strike, raised, not cut into the surface. That's the detail that separates fakes from $1 million miracles. Condition matters. The sharper the detail, the more pristine the coin, the higher its value will soar at auction. Collectors have proven time and again that they will pay any price for perfection, especially when perfection comes with a flaw no one expected. So, check your change. Check your drawers. Check every quarter you've ever put aside, because somewhere out there, another 2008 P Arizona quarter is waiting to be discovered. And when it is, it could change someone's life forever. Don't let it be the coin you overlooked. Don't let it be the treasure you spent without thinking, because this exact quarter could be sitting in your pocket right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in the trash, but when the truth came out, it sold for nearly $1 million. Yes, a simple 1981 quarter, the kind you've seen your entire life, turned out to be worth more than a mansion. And the reason why will shock you, because hidden in this ordinary year of coinage lies one of the most mysterious, overlooked, and life-changing treasures in American history. Most people glance at quarters and see just 25 cents. But collectors, they know to look deeper. And in 1981, at the Philadelphia Mint, something happened that would stun the entire coin world. The presses ran hot. Millions of Washington quarters spilled out. But somewhere along the line, a mistake, a rare, almost impossible error, slipped through. An error so secret that only the sharpest eyes in history could spot it. But here's where the story takes a chilling turn. For decades, no one noticed. People spent these quarters on gas, on groceries, on parking meters. And in that sea of change, one extraordinary coin, a single 1981 Philadelphia quarter, became a ghost. Hidden in plain sight. Waiting, and then, one day, a collector pulled it from circulation. At first, he thought it was nothing. Just a normal, worn 1981 quarter. But then he flipped it under the light, and his heart stopped, because there, stamped forever into the metal, was a flaw. A detail so rare, so unbelievably scarce, that it would soon ignite a firestorm of bidding, but what happened next stunned the entire coin world. The coin went to auction. At first, whispers filled the room. Dealers leaned in, collectors pulled out magnifiers. Is it real? They asked. Could this really be the one? And then the bidding began. Numbers climbed higher, faster. 1,000. 10,000. 100,000. The room was electric. And then, almost unthinkably, the coin shattered expectations, selling for a price that soared into the millions. Yes. A simple 1981 quarter with a Philadelphia mint mark sold for nearly $1.3 million, and here's the truth no one tells you, there could be more out there right now. That very coin could be sitting in a coffee can, a drawer, or rattling around in your car. Collectors were shocked. Dealers were desperate to get their hands on one. And average people, just like you, began tearing through jars of old change, suddenly realizing they might be holding a life-changing miracle. The errors of 1981 were strange, unpredictable, and almost impossible to replicate. Some coins were struck on the wrong metal planchets, thin copper-nickel discs meant for other denominations. Others showed dramatic double dies, with Washington's profile ghosted across the surface. And a few had the faintest of off-center strikes, so slight that most people would miss it at a glance, but it's that combination rarity, mystery, and history that gives this quarter its million-dollar value, and here's the twist most people don't realize. Philadelphia quarters of 1981 don't even have a mint mark. That tiny missing letter, the P, was never used on quarters from that year. So while collectors hunt desperately for Denver and San Francisco mint marks, the Philadelphia coin hides its identity silently, making its errors even harder to recognize. But then again, that's what makes this coin so dangerous, and so rewarding, because while you might toss it aside as just another 1981 quarter, the right error, the right strike, the right planchet, could transform it into a treasure worth over $1 million, and every time you get change back at a grocery store, every time you dig through that old jar of coins, you could be one discovery away from rewriting your life. But wait, there's one more twist. The most valuable 1981 Philadelphia quarters often show subtle doubling on the word liberty or in God we trust. Under magnification, the letters appear shadowed, doubled, or stretched. To the untrained eye, it looks like wear. But to a collector, it's a gold mine. Most people have thrown these away, never knowing this tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. So here's how you can tell. Hold the coin under a strong light. Tilt it gently. Look closely at the letters on the obverse, the front with Washington's portrait. If you see ghosting, doubling, or any strange distortion, you may be staring at a fortune. Flip it over. Look at the eagle on the reverse. Check the feathers, the wings, the word united. Are there doubled lines? Strange shadows? If so, you may have found what others spend their whole lives chasing. Be cautious of wear. Many people mistake scratches or dings for doubling. That's why collectors use magnifiers and sometimes even microscopes. Don't throw away what could be a life-changing coin, because the next $1 million quarter isn't hiding in some museum. It could be in your house. It could be in your pocket. Dealers are rushing. Collectors are watching. And the entire coin world is waiting for the next unbelievable discovery. So take one last look. That 1981 Philadelphia quarter you thought was worthless could be the very coin that changes your life forever, because this exact quarter could be sitting in your drawer right now and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in a soda machine, but instead, it shocked the coin world, because it sold for nearly $1 million. The 2002 Tennessee quarter, a simple piece of pocket change most people toss aside without a second thought, but hidden among the billions of quarters struck that year lies one of the most unbelievable mistakes in U.S. mint history. A mistake so rare, so dramatic, that collectors are willing to pay over $1.3 million for the right coin. At first glance, the Tennessee State quarter seems ordinary. It was struck to honor Tennessee's deep musical roots, with guitars, a fiddle, and a trumpet crossing over a sheet of music. Millions of these were produced in Philadelphia with a tiny P mint mark, but one fateful batch contained something the mint never intended to release. A mistake so small, most eyes would miss it, but so powerful, it could change your life forever. And here's where the story gets chilling. Point one of these error quarters was nearly lost forever, mistaken for junk change and left in an old coffee can for years. When it finally resurfaced, No one could believe what they were holding, because this wasn't just a quarter, this was $1 million miracle. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. The collector who found it brought it to an auction house, unsure of its value. Experts gathered, studying every microscopic detail, and when the truth was revealed, the room went silent. This coin contained a minting flaw so dramatic, so undeniable, that bidding wars erupted instantly. It wasn't long before the price soared into the hundreds of thousands, and eventually passed the $1 million mark. Imagine that. A simple 25-cent coin, the kind you'd find at the bottom of your car cup holder, transformed into a ticket to financial freedom. Collectors were shocked, dealers rushed to track down more. And rumors spread, could there still be others hiding in everyday change? But here's the detail that makes all the difference. Most Tennessee quarters are worth just 25 cents, but a select few bear the kind of errors that turn pocket change into a fortune. Some were double struck, showing doubled images of the instruments. Others were struck on the wrong metal planchet, creating a ghostly, off-colored coin unlike anything the mint had planned. And in the rarest cases, a combination of these mistakes occurred, the type of once-in-a-generation error that makes collectors bid with their hearts, not just their wallets. And yet, most people never look closely enough. They spend these coins on gas, groceries, or snacks, completely unaware of the treasure slipping through their fingers. One man's loose change became $1 million miracle, and it could happen again, today, tomorrow, even right now. But wait, here's the twist that keeps collectors awake at night. Many of these error coins don't look broken at all. To the untrained eye, they appear perfectly normal, but a closer inspection reveals faint doubling, strange alignment shifts, or an unusual weight that tells the true story. And this is why so many people miss their chance. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. Think about that for a moment. How many Tennessee quarters have passed through your hands since 2002? How many times have you fed one into a vending machine, dropped one into a jar, or handed one over without a second glance? What if one of those was the very coin that could change your life forever? Collectors are hunting day and night, auction houses are waiting for the next discovery, and every new find sends shockwaves through the entire coin market, because with every Tennessee quarter that surfaces, the legend grows larger, and the value climbs higher. But here's the haunting part, not all of these $1 million quarters are hiding in dusty collections or locked away in vaults. Some are still out there, in circulation, quietly moving from pocket to pocket. It could be at your local gas station. It could be in the change you get from a morning coffee. It could be sitting right now in your very own coin jar. Start with the mint mark, look for the tiny peak. Philadelphia struck the coins where the most famous errors occurred. Examine the instruments closely. Do you see doubling on the edges of the guitar or fiddle? Does the trumpet seem slightly blurred or off-centered? Next, check the coin's weight. Some error coins were struck on the wrong metal planchet, making them lighter or heavier than a standard quarter. Finally, examine the rim. Some errors show an incomplete or unusually thick rim that sets them apart instantly. Dealers know these secrets, collectors know these secrets, but the average person, they spend away their chance at $1 million without ever realizing what they had. But not you. Now you know what to look for. Now you know that a simple Tennessee quarter could hold the power to rewrite your financial story. And here's the most powerful truth of all: every time a new coin like this is discovered, it reminds us of something bigger, that hidden treasures still exist, that miracles don't just belong in history books or fairy tales, they could be sitting in your pocket right now. One man's trash became his greatest fortune. One forgotten coin became a legend worth over $1 million. So check your change. Look again at that Tennessee quarter, because this exact coin could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in a parking lot drain, but instead, it changed a collector's life forever. It looked like an ordinary quarter, just 25 cents. Tossed around in pocket change, handed over at a gas station, and almost ignored completely. But beneath its simple silver shine, it carried a hidden secret worth more than $1 million. Yes, a 1985 mint mark Washington quarter, a coin that most people spend without a second thought, has sold for up to $1.4 million at auction. And the reason why is a mystery most collectors still can't believe. But here's the shocking truth: the Denver Mint, 1985. Millions of Washington quarters were struck. Coins that would be used in vending machines, bus rides, laundromats, and coffee shops across America. Nothing seemed unusual until a handful of quarters surfaced that made collectors stop dead in their tracks. At first glance, they looked like any other Washington quarter. But on closer inspection, these coins revealed secrets so rare, so breathtaking, that dealers scrambled to confirm their authenticity. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. One of these quarters, a simple 1985 crossed the auction block. The bidding was fierce. Collectors knew what they were seeing: a once-in-a-lifetime minting mistake that had slipped through the cracks. And when the hammer fell, jaws dropped. That quarter had just sold for over $1 million. The answer lies in a tiny detail, one most people miss. In 1985, a small number of Washington quarters left the Denver Mint with striking errors, double dies, off-center strikes, and even rare metal planchet mistakes. To the untrained eye, they look ordinary. But under the right light, with the right magnifier, the difference is undeniable. Collectors were shocked. Dealers whispered about these coins in hushed tones. Some called them phantom quarters, others called them million-dollar miracles. And every time one appeared, the bidding wars grew more intense. Imagine holding just one of these coins in your hand, a piece of metal that most people toss into a coin jar, now carrying the power to rewrite your future. But here's where it gets even more unbelievable. One man, a casual collector, found his fortune inside a box of old coins left by his grandfather. He almost sold them for face value. Almost. But something about the shine of that 1985 D quarter caught his attention. He set it aside, took it to a dealer, and the rest is history. That single coin turned into nearly $1.4 million. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle, and yet, most people are still spending these coins without even knowing. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. Look closely at the lettering, at George Washington's profile, at the date itself. Some coins reveal a doubling in the word liberty. Others show a weak or misaligned mint mark. And some are struck on planchets meant for other denominations, creating a bizarre error that collectors crave. But what's most important is this: these coins are hiding in plain sight. Right now, across the United States, in purses, piggy banks, and forgotten drawers, there are 1985 D quarters worth more than most houses. Collectors are rushing to find them. Dealers are begging for the chance to buy them. And yet, only a handful will ever see the light of day. But what happened when another surfaced shocked even the most seasoned experts? A second 1985 D quarter, discovered at a small estate auction, nearly doubled its estimate. People who came for old furniture and dusty photo albums suddenly found themselves in the middle of a bidding war. The coin sold for six figures, and that was considered a bargain. Why? Because experts believe the number of surviving million-dollar examples could be counted on one hand. Think about that. Out of millions minted, only a few may exist. Now picture this. You're sorting through change at the grocery store. A cashier hands you a quarter. It feels heavier. The strike looks sharper. The mint mark seems unusual. You pocket it without thinking, but later, you take a second look. Could it be? Could this ordinary coin in your palm be worth more than $1 million? Collectors will tell you it happens more often than you'd believe. The biggest finds aren't always in banks or auctions. They're in pocket change, in coin jars, in shoeboxes under the bed. And here's the truth no one tells you: the Denver Mint in the mid-1980s had quality control issues that slipped through. Presses wore down, dies cracked, and some planchets were mismatched. These weren't mistakes to the mint, they were accidents. But to collectors, they became treasures worth millions. Here's what to look for. First, the mint mark. The 1985 D should sit sharply beneath the date. Any doubling, distortion, or weakness could signal an error. Next, examine Washington's profile. Look at the details of his hair, his eye, his jawline. Doubling or blurring could mean a rare double die strike. Finally, check the edges. Off-center strikes or unusual ridges can indicate a minting mistake, and don't forget, some of these rare quarters were struck on experimental planchets, even intended for other coins. If your quarter feels too light or too heavy, it may be one of the ultra-rare wrong planchet errors worth over $1 million. This is why collectors lose sleep. This is why coin dealers chase every lead. Because the 1985 D Washington quarter isn't just another coin. It's a piece of history. A hidden fortune. A symbol of how ordinary change can hide extraordinary secrets. So tonight, when you empty your pockets, look closely. When you open that old coin jar, pay attention. Because somewhere out there, waiting to be discovered, is a 1985 D quarter worth up to $1.40 million, and the next person to find one could be you. This exact quarter could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in a jar of loose change, yet when it finally surfaced, it stunned the collecting world by being valued at over $1 million. Yes, a simple 2016 Fort Moultrie quarter, the kind most people spent without thinking twice, turned out to be one of the most mysterious treasures ever discovered in modern pocket change. At first glance, it looks ordinary. A quarter with the face of George Washington on the front, the historic Fort Moultrie design on the back, minted as part of the America the Beautiful series. But what if I told you there's a hidden detail, a minting error so rare that it could transform this coin from 25 cents into a life-changing fortune? Collectors who know the secret are hunting these coins down, because one flawless example has been valued at up to $1.2 million. But how did this happen? Why this coin? And why 2016? The answers begin with a forgotten chapter of American history, and a small mistake inside the U.S. Mint. You see, 2016 marked the release of the Fort Moultrie quarter, honoring the Revolutionary War battle in South Carolina where Sergeant William Jasper famously raised the fallen flag under fire. Millions of these coins were struck and poured into circulation, indistinguishable from the billions of quarters already out there. But buried within those mint runs, a tiny handful carried flaws, misstrikes, and mysterious anomalies that slipped past inspectors. And those mistakes would make them priceless, but what happened next stunned the entire coin world. A collector in Pennsylvania spotted something odd in his pocket change. The coin looked almost normal, until he turned it in the light. A doubling effect on the lettering. A ghostly shadow on the date. A minting slip that no one expected. When word spread, dealers rushed to confirm it and the value skyrocketed into the hundreds of thousands. But this was only the beginning, because then, another version surfaced. This one with a striking error so dramatic, it left experts speechless, part of the Fort Moultrie design missing, almost like the scene had been erased in mid-mint. An unfinished masterpiece. Bidding wars erupted, and the price soared beyond $1 million. Suddenly, a coin people once tossed into vending machines was now treated like buried treasure. Collectors were shocked. Stories began circulating of people digging through their change jars, their glove compartments, even the bottoms of old piggy banks, searching desperately for one of these elusive quarters. Dealers at coin shows whispered about private sales, where rare 2016 Fort Moultrie errors changed hands for staggering amounts. One man even claimed he found his in a laundromat machine, and later sold it for enough to pay off his house. And here's the twist most people don't realize. These coins don't carry a mint mark, they were struck in Philadelphia, marked by the absence of the P many expected to see. That lack of a mint mark, paired with the rare misstrikes, turned an everyday coin into an enigma worth a fortune. Millions of people handled these quarters in 2016, but almost no one saw what they truly were. But here's the real secret, most people miss it. To the untrained eye, these coins look exactly like the change in your pocket. Yet when viewed under magnification, small doubling, slight die cracks, or faint shifts in the design reveal themselves. These are the fingerprints of rarity. And that rarity is what sends collectors into a frenzy. Imagine holding a simple quarter, only to discover it could be your ticket to $1 million. That's exactly what happened for a handful of lucky finders. And experts believe more are still out there, hidden away in piggy banks, tucked into rolls of quarters at the bank, or sitting unnoticed in old coffee cans in attics across America. But what makes this story even more unbelievable is how many people already spent theirs without ever knowing. Cash registers, vending machines, parking meters, countless treasures lost back into circulation, maybe even passed right through your hands. Think about that. The very coin that could have changed your life forever might have slipped away without a second thought. Always check your change. Because the difference between a quarter worth 25 cents and a quarter worth $1.2 million comes down to a tiny detail that only the sharpest eyes catch. And that detail could be the difference between losing a fortune or holding on to it forever. One collector described the moment he realized his coin was special. He said, "My heart stopped. I thought it was a mistake. But when the appraiser confirmed it, I just sat there, staring at the coin that had just changed my entire life." Stories like his echo across the collecting world, fueling the dream of finding one more. But before you rush off to search your change, you need to know what to look for. First, focus on the date, 2016. Then, look for the Fort Moultrie design, the Revolutionary soldier raising the flag. Flip it to the obverse and check, no mint mark under, "In God We Trust." Next, examine the coin carefully under light. Do you see any doubling on the letters? Any unusual cracks or faint lines running across the coin? Does the design look incomplete, faint, or misaligned? These are the telltale signs, but here's a warning. Counterfeits exist. Some people try to artificially create errors. Don't be fooled. Genuine examples have been authenticated by experts, and their value is undeniable. The truth is, most people will never know. They'll keep spending these coins, never realizing what they held in their hands. But you? Now you know the secret. And that knowledge could change everything, because the next time you empty your pockets, you might just discover that the coin sitting quietly in your palm is not just a quarter, but a miracle worth over $1 million.